Hello, what's up, and what's happening? This is another Miles Dawkins 24/7 production, and today is Throwback Thursday, and we got those Detroit Lions, aka the Detroit Bus. Look at these players I'm showing y'all, man. That's Kevin Jones, 34, running back from Virginia Tech. Check out this guy right here. He's from Texas. That's Roy Williams, not the free safety, but that big old nasty receiver, 6'5", pretty big. He was a very decent receiver in the NFL. This guy right here, that's Charles Rodgers. He was picked number 2 overall to the Detroit Lions. Yeah, way before Megatron. This guy right here, quarterback from Oregon. What's his name? Joey Harrington. He was a Heisman finalist. He got drafted, I believe, in the top 5 for the Detroit Lions. And then my man right here, I love watching this guy in college, from USC, Mike Williams. So those guys are going to be the premise of this video and of this discussion. They are the Detroit Bust. I know it's the Detroit Lions. I like the Detroit Lions. I remember growing up watching Barry Sanders, just being in awe of what that guy can do. But it seems like ever since that man retired, Detroit, especially in the middle of the 2000s, was always looking for somebody to replace him, and it never really worked out. So we're going to talk about the Detroit Lions and the bust that they had. Now, all those picks were from 2002 to about 2005. So that's 4 years basically of bad draft pick after bad draft pick after bad draft pick. And it's funny how the Raiders get so much flack for having bad draft picks, but not too many people remember about the Detroit Lions. So if you are a Detroit Lions fan, I'm just speaking my mind. If I'm wrong about anything, hey, let me know in the comment section. If you're just a fan of football, you want to talk about it, leave some in the comment section for me to read, and I will definitely get back to you. Now, let's start off with this man right here carrying the ball, Kevin Jones. I like Kevin Jones. Kevin Jones at Virginia Tech was a flat-out monster. Y'all know me, I'm a fan of the U, and he had some of his best games versus the University of Miami. One problem, though, that did not translate into the NFL. He was the 30th overall pick. Again, all these guys we're talking about were first-round picks, and they were first-round picks in a 4-year span. So you're thinking to yourself, man, Detroit, they had the potential of having something great. They did, but for whatever reason, it just didn't work out. Kevin Jones had a decent career, not a great career, all right? He had 3 years in Detroit, didn't really do too much. Then he ended up signing with the Chicago Bears. He was a backup there, hardly ever saw the field. And then he spent a year in Canadian football. Nobody counts that. So for the 5 years he was in the NFL, he only rushed for 14 TDs and barely 3,000 yards. Barely. That's not the best career, especially when you are a first-round pick in the NFL, homie. So Kevin Jones, you're a bust, dude. And he already knows that. I'm not saying nothing new. But then you also got the quarterback. We're going to go with the quarterback, Joey Harrington from Oregon. He was actually a Heisman finalist. He was a Heisman candidate. You know what I mean? I remember watching Joey Harrington. He's on the cover of one of my favorite games, NCAA 03. He was a pretty good quarterback in college. But again, that's college. And again, Detroit put all their eggs in one basket instead of going getting a free agent quarterback. But they already went down that route. Remember, they signed Scott Mitchell in the 90s. He was damn near his backup at Miami. They gave him like a big time contract, like $11 million, something crazy like that, and he turned out to be a bust, but as a free agent. But going back to Joey Harrington, he had a solid career at Oregon, turned it into being a top 5 pick in the NFL draft, and he had a decent career. He's better known for being a backup and a bust. Joey Harrington, he never really worked out in Detroit. He spent a year in Miami. That really didn't work out. Then he ended up playing for the Atlanta Falcons the same year that they drafted Matt Ryan. And Matt Ryan and him were fighting for the starting job in Atlanta, believe it or not. And then he spent a year backing up Drew Brees in New Orleans. So my man Joey Harrington, flat out bust, man. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, we all know that these guys are bust. Yeah, that's true. But when you have bust, it sets your team back so far, and it makes your team nervous about taking other players that resemble the guys that you already picked, right? So you had the running back, he's gone. Got Joey Harrington, he's gone. Let's move on to the receivers, because they had 3 receivers on this team. As we knocked that dude's helmet off, they had 3 receivers on this team that were top 10 picks at receiver. So you're thinking to yourself, yo, this had to be one of the best receiving corps in the game. And if it was NCAA All-Star Edition, you're absolutely right. If this was NCAA 14 Ultimate Team and they had Charles Rodgers, he probably would have been like a 95 overall card. Roy Williams, Mike Williams, they both would have been 99 overall cards. It would be bonanza, but it's not. It's the NFL. So let's start off with Roy Williams. Now, Roy Williams, he actually had a decent career. You know what I mean? He actually had I could say above average NFL career. You know what I mean? He had some good days in Detroit. He played with the Cowboys. Remember that? He played with T.O. for a little bit in Dallas. And then he was actually there when they drafted Dez Bryant. And he wanted Dez Bryant, you know, a little bit of rookie hazing, if you will. He wanted Dez Bryant to carry his pads off the field. And Dez Bryant was like, bruh, I ain't carrying your pads off the field. It was a big issue back then. But we all could see that Dez Bryant is a much better receiver than Roy Williams could ever dream to be. Roy Williams from Texas was the man at Texas. He was the man. I loved watching Texas play football because of number 4, Roy Williams. He was a flat-out beast. And then he got drafted the same year as Larry Fitzgerald. They were the 2 best receivers in the draft, according to everybody else. And they really were coming in. You know what I mean? You couldn't really find a receiver better than them going into that draft. But Larry Fitzgerald, 10 times better than Roy Williams. Roy Williams, you're not really your best, but you didn't turn out to be, you know, a first-round caliber player in the NFL. You didn't turn out to be like an all-pro player. You didn't really go to too many Pro Bowls, if any Pro Bowls. You ended up finishing your career with the Chicago Bears, and as my man Musa Muhammad says, receivers go to Chicago to die. I'm just saying. That was it back in the day. I know they got Alshon Jeffries and they got Brandon Marshall. Those days are gone, but that's what Musa Muhammad said. So go after him, not me. Moving on to Charles Rodgers. Now, Charles Rodgers, he went to Michigan State. He wears number 80 for the Detroit Lions. He only played in the NFL for 2 seasons. 2 seasons. So I know what you're thinking, man. He must have sucked. Nah, he was really talented. Here was the problem with with Charles Rodgers. Charles Rodgers had a drug problem. He was using it and he was selling it. That's not good when you're an NFL player, right? On top of that, he was a very skinny dude. Very skinny. We're talking about the Sean Jackson skinny, but more to hit because he was taller. I believe Charles Rodgers was about 6'2". Deshaun Jackson's like 5'10" on a good day. You know what I mean? So there was a lot more to hit with Charles Rodgers, and he wasn't that big. And he turned out to be a flat-out bust because he couldn't stay in the league that long. He only played 15 games in those 2 years, only started 9 of them, and only got 4 TDs total. So my man Charles Rodgers, you are a flat-out bust. Now, I saved this dude for a reason. His name is Mike Williams from USC. Now, he tried to leave college after his sophomore season. Now, the NFL has a rule that you have to be 3 years removed from high school to get drafted. Well, Mike Williams, he was only 2 years removed. So, he had to sit out playing college because you signed an agent. Now, once you sign an agent, you cannot go back to college. You have to, stick with that agent, try and get drafted, but he couldn't do that. And he was already a big dude in college. He was like 6'5", 240 in college. So he kind of blew up, had to work all that weight off, and the Detroit Lions ended up picking him with the 10th overall pick. So you drafted Roy Williams and Charles Rodgers in the first round, and now you added Mike Williams in the first round. So know what you think? Well, Mike Williams, he was a beast in college. He was. I watched him. He was a flat-out monster in college. One problem is he was a year removed from that, so he wasn't in football shape. He got to Detroit. He wasn't in football shape, and he struggled. He really did. And the worst thing about it is they passed up DeMarcus Ware to get Mike Williams. DeMarcus Ware, yeah, future Hall of Famer DeMarcus Ware. So at the end of the day, Detroit, you had a rough going from 2002 to 2005, but hey, it looks like that ship is finally going in the right direction because they were so nervous about all the receivers that they picked up that they were even afraid to draft Megatron. And hey, could you blame him? Charles Rodgers was a bust. Roy Williams really didn't turn out to who they thought that he was going to be. And then, of course, you draft Mike Williams, and he didn't turn out. And then the very next year, you pick up Megatron. So that's 4 straight years, 4 straight receivers. Only one of them turned out to be a good one. But that's going to do it. I'm going to walk up out of here. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, I enjoyed bringing it to you. Hope the rest of your day is the best of your day. And I'm out. Peace. Hot sauce.